What the fuck?
Cheap kills are a very important facet of Zenyatta's kit. I mean, he's the only support who can kill people instantly, so to me, that means that you should probably use him to, you know, kill people instantly. It just takes a little practice. I mean, this is probably easiest to do right at the start of matches when the enemy team will run in a fairly predictable pattern, but it's got other uses as well. Basically, your right click does less damage than your left click per orb, but you should always be trying to time up your charging upness. Trying to time to when there's currently nothing to shoot, but when there's about to be something to shoot. Case in point, there's a tracer on the right here, but I can't shoot her because there's a wall in the way, so instead, charge up a shot, and then boom! Fuck that bitch. Flank your motherfucking, yeah, fucking love Zen. Siege shields. I mean siege shield. It's an action, I'm telling you, to siege enemy shield. You should end most games with silver or gold damage. Always be shooting. Always. Well, you know, almost always. Without exception, always be shooting. Well, except like when you can like time a good reload or like a good charge up. Or maybe when you don't want to give away your position. But you should almost always be shooting as Zen. He's got a pretty big clip size. Clip size? Magazine size? I don't actually know what you call it. He can fit a lot of balls in his hands, right? So you may as well drop those balls into Reinhardt's square while there's nothing else to shoot at. Not only does this keep pressure on the shield, but occasionally the shield goes down and you get a few pops off on Reinhardt or the people behind him or whatever. I mean, this is big. This is how you play Zen. If you only take one thing away from this video, I hope it's this. Just always be shooting. Literally always, without exception. Oh, well, almost always. Especially at shields, but like almost always. Try to pay attention to people like above and behind you that need heals. I mean, this is kind of general healer advice for any character, but I feel like it needs to be said. As Zenyatta, you're usually in a position to safely heal the, you know, the Annas, the Pharahs, the Widowmakers, like the characters that like to stay far away from the rest of the team. So it helps to check up on them often and try to stay aware of any projectiles or flankers that head their way so you can heal them as soon as possible. And, you know, some people like to ask for heals over voice chat, as if you somehow learned to associate their voice with the fucking character in the 4 minutes on a public server together. I mean, I like to gently remind these chobs that the game has a single button they can press that tells me they need help and shows me exactly where they are. Press that. Tell your teammates to press that when they're saying they need heals over voice. I mean, just press fucking X button. I mean, especially if they aren't in your line of sight. Zenyatta may be a genius robot juggler, but he's not a goddamn mind reader. Just tell him to press X, and that will actually greatly improve your healingness. When you are going against those shields, when you are sieging those shields, you should always be spamming Discord, just like mashing down on the E button for when the shield will momentarily go down. You can't Discord through shields, but any good Reinhardt will occasionally turn his shield off to launch a fire strike. So when this or any number of other little things that fuck up his shield happens, you want to make sure your Discord goes out in that half-second gap before you lose your opportunity. The good thing is, once the shield is back up, it's too late. You've already got line of sight, so your orb isn't going anywhere. And I don't know if it's just coincidence, but it feels to me like when the Discord orb is on an enemy Reinhardt, your own team tends to focus down his shields and kill him faster, which they should be doing anyway, but maybe it's just my fucking imagination. At any rate, spamming E on enemy shields gets your Discord up as soon as possible, which we can all agree is useful in and of itself. Always have your heal bubble on someone, even if everyone's at full health. Again, this is kind of obvious, and I think it's even a tooltip in-game, but, you know, everyone's at different skill levels, so it's nice to throw it in this general Zen mix of things you should do. The orb doesn't cost anything, so you want it to be healing people as soon as they take damage. It's probably tempting to just keep it on your tank so you don't need to be switching your orb out every second or two, but I mean, you should be orbing every second or two. The orb should always go on to whoever needs it most, even if everyone's at full health, because chances are someone on your team is about to need health, and you want to give it to them as soon as possible. You shouldn't always be healing the person with the lowest health. You should give your Harmony Orb to whoever is immediately in combat instead of whoever has the lowest health. This may be the least intuitive bit of advice in this video and playing Zen in general, but again, I feel like it's some of the most useful. If you've got a teammate right next to you who's at low health, and another teammate behind enemy lines who's at kinda full health, who should the orb go on? The guy with kinda full health. Because while he may not need all that health to stay alive, he might. you never know when he's gonna get knocked down instantly, whereas your low health teammate is safely tucked away from enemy fire, so they can hold their fucking horses for 5 or 6 seconds for your teammate to make it to safety before you start healing them. Now, there's a huge gray area here. If the low health person is at risk of dying to a flanker, or the high health person is very little risk of dying despite being enemy lines, then you should give it to the low health person, obviously. But the point is, the person with the lowest health isn't always the best healing recipient. The best healing recipient is always the person who needs the heals to survive immediately. If someone is low, but they're not at risk for dying, then they're a low priority target. Heal the other person, like throw the orb on, even if they don't need it right away. Try not to get tunnel vision when you're going for kills. This is probably my biggest downfall when I play Zenyatta. Sometimes I forget that I'm the least mobile character in the game, and I'll chase someone for a second or two to secure a kill without realizing that I've totally fucked myself and just put myself out of position. Getting kills with Zen is fun, but he's got no way of making it back to safety. There's a fine line between playing it safe and trying to get kills, and that line looks like this. It's the little blue thing that's right in front of your Reinhardt. Stay behind that thing. It's practically drawn onto the fucking ground. Just stay behind that and you'll probably be fine. And then with practice, you'll develop a feeling for when you can be a little more aggressive. And usually that moment comes after you've killed like 5 enemies, so that you're safe if you do chase down and kill the basically, the point is, just don't be too aggressive as Zenyatta. You're very non-mobile. Double down with your Discord on stunned targets. When you see Roadhog hook someone, or Reinhardt charge someone, or McCree flashbang someone, toss a Discord onto that person. Most of the time, it's probably overkill. But against like enemy tanks and stuff, that Discord just might be the little bit of oomph that your team needs to get the insta-kill off. Like, there are some exceptions. Notably that if your Discord won't make it in time, it's not worth taking it off your current target, so you may as well just keep it on who it's on right now. It is a judgment call, but the general idea is you can't always rely on insta-kill combos, so if you can easily get a Discord off on the people that are being charged or hooked or stunned, then you should do that. So there's this notion, right, that when you play Zen, you should always be holding down left click. And most games with silver or gold damage, always be shooting. Always. Okay, well, fuck, I did say that. Well, that still applies, okay. So when you are shooting, sieging, it's fine to hold down, but when you're going against individual targets, you should take a little more control of your shots. You know, you're still basically always shooting, but instead of just holding it down, try to line up each shot and click. This is just one of those little things that will generally increase your accuracy and will probably increase your damage over time, even though you are clicking. It's like firing burst shots with 76. You basically want to take some time to line up good shots when you're actually trying to be accurate. But when you are sieging a shield, that's when you can just hold it down. But basically, when I fight against people, I'm rarely holding the button down. I'm almost always clicking every individual shot so that I know exactly when it's going to go out and where it's going to hit. Number 1, your piece of indispensable Zenyatta advice that I've amassed over some hours of gameplay. I don't know, I haven't checked in a while, but be generous with your ultimate. This is going to run counter to what most people would have you believe, but take it from someone who's got a pretty good win rate. His ultimate does more than just counter enemy visors and dragon blades. I use it plenty of times when there's no enemy ultimate happening, because myself and maybe 2 or 3 other people are on the brink of death, and a good ult can turn those possible deaths into a kill or 2 for your team. Yes, it does leave you more open to be wiped by an enemy ultimate in the future, but if you hang on to it and your teammates die, or you're losing the point anyway, whether or not the enemy use their ult, at least this way you're buying a good 40 seconds or so, and you can start charging for your next ultimate. This is definitely situational, because the best use is to counter enemy ults, but the more I play him, the more I find myself using it to preempt situations where your team is staggered, maybe without a healer or 1 or 2 people, and instead turn those into situations where the enemy team is staggered instead. Yeah, you're more exposed to the next enemy ult, but it did its job in preventing a push, an ultimate or not, from the enemy team. That's what they're trying to go for. So there's no guarantee that you won't even get picked before you get the next opportunity to use it anyway, so just use it when you see good opportunities to save your team, instead of just religiously doing it when the enemy team is ulting. This may catch you a little flack from your teammates, but fuck it, they don't know what they're talking about. They're not an expert Zenyatta like you, because they didn't watch this fucking video, but believe me, this is how you win games. You want to be the best Zenyatta you can be? Well, there's one thing you gotta do, and I'm afraid there's no way around it. Golden nuts. You just gotta get yourself some golden nuts. They feel great in your hand and they look better in your enemies' faces. Just shove your nuts in their faces. It's the best thing. Fucking do it.